Did you know we have an active and fun chat room? Come and join presenters and other listeners at transradiouk.com. All hit music.
Yo, what's up? This is Kanye.
This is Rihanna. Hey, this is Pink.
Trans Radio UK. Truck United FC, the new football team for the LGBT community. Visit tiukunitedfc.com for more details. Trans Radio UK, here for the community, 24 hours a day. You're listening to Out of the Flames with Phoenix, only on Trans Radio UK.
Hello and welcome, and come on, you know how my shows start by now. That's right. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever in the world you are, and welcome to Here With Me, Phoenix in Out of the Flames. We were seen in by Ed Sheeran there with Shivers, the Offenbach remix. Now, at the weekend, myself, DJ Bear and DJ Glorious, we went to Trans Pride Picnic in Birmingham, and it was a really lovely day. It was very chilled, very relaxed, and we spent about 4 hours just chilling and chatting, having some nibbles at what we ended up finding out to being Trans Pride Birmingham's first ever event. I just assumed that they had done things before that, but no, although they got together a couple of years ago, I think COVID had got involved and stopped any of their plans that they had made. But no, so this was the first ever Trans Pride Birmingham event that's ever happened. And we're going to find out more about it because whilst I was there, I managed to do some interviews from people that I didn't know, but also some that we do know. I had previously interviewed and spoken to a non-binary person called Adam, and they are the organiser and leader, I believe, of Trans Pride Birmingham. Unfortunately, that recording was corrupted, so something went wrong, not quite sure what. It's a shame because it's a really lovely interview where they explained all about the history of how it started and what their aims and stuff were. But I can tell you from what they told me that they have really fantastic high hopes, completely achievable, that they just want to bring the trans community more upfront in Birmingham because there's been no places, spaces, gatherings for them as such. There has been some LGBTQ plus involvement, but nothing that has been an actual community for trans people to get together and to meet each other and find out a bit about each other. And for their, as you'll hear throughout when I speak to people, the response for a first-time event being just a simple picnic was absolutely fantastic. And as I say, it was just so relaxed, so chilled, so friendly. And there was definitely some new people who were turning up by themselves and finding new communities and friends. And that was really lovely to see. So let's move on to my next interview on the day. And that was with our very own DJ Glorious, who met us there and was lovely to spend some time together. And let's see what DJ Glorious had to say. So you are obviously part of the scene and the community, and is such that you obviously go to LGBTQ plus places.
Yeah. And
you're also a DJ on Trans Radio. So how have you found this event here today? What have you found the atmosphere to be like? And what do you think of there being something finally for trans people in Birmingham?
Well, first of all, I find it amazing because as someone who's a big ally of the trans community, especially with what's going on at the moment, I know trans people can feel lonely sometimes and, yes, feel like they're not fitting in the world. But it's nice that they can finally have a place to come together and just to socialise with people. Being themselves, with people who've gone through the same thing. Yeah. So, that atmosphere's just been amazing. Everyone's just chatting and... yeah, they're just feeling comfortable.
Now, I remember we went to a protest in London some time ago now, a few months ago, and you were fantastic because you got up and did a speech in front of 4,000 people, and I was really impressed. I was really pleased that you were able to do it. And I remember part of what you said was that since working for Trans Radio, you've come to understand the community a lot more, and you're still learning all the time.
Yeah.
So what do you feel changed? What do you feel you learnt by joining the community and being part of it? What actually changed?
Well,
is it just an understanding?
Just an understanding. Because if I'm honest, without knowing, I used to have transphobic views, but because I wasn't educated on it. So as I say, now that I joined Truck, it's changed my mind, and I've learned now my views are wrong. And that's where I think a lot of bigotry comes from, transphobia, is people not learning or not willing to learn.
So rather than them just wanting to be nasty, sometimes it can just be someone not knowing the right thing.
Not knowing, and for anyone who knows me well, including you, you know the last thing I'd want is to hurt anyone.
Sure.
So, that's from my own experience, that's what I've learned. Because, I accidentally did hurt someone who was trans, but we actually had a chat. They've taught me, and Truck's taught me as well, and I can realise how I've upset that certain person, and like I said, the last thing I'd want is to hurt someone. So,
well, I was talking to the organiser of this, Adam, and Adam said that this is the first ever trans thing for Birmingham, like ever. So it's taken quite a while to get here, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah. And as well, because I'm gay myself, when I was growing up, I was the first ever person to go to an LGBT youth club. So I'm surprised.
Was that Birmingham based?
Yeah, Birmingham based. Yeah. If anyone's Birmingham based, you should check out Out Central. They welcome everyone, LGBT, trans, everyone. Yeah. So I was shocked about that, and now to hear that news, I'm shocked even more, because Birmingham's like the second biggest city.
I know.
Why is there not something there before? Yeah. But luckily, we have lovely people like Adam, I think the name was. Yeah. Adam, who took the time out the way to create something lovely like this, and like I say, for someone who might feel lonely in the trans community, at least I've got something now, and hopefully they've made friends who now they can do stuff out of this.
Well, yeah, because a simple event like this, a simple picnic in the park that we're having now, could change somebody's life, somebody who's sitting there lonely and by themselves, and they'll come here and they'll see other people who are just like them, or different identities, and know that they're not alone anymore.
Yeah, and I saw as well today, as you saw, someone by themselves, the organisers said hello to them and introduced them to people, so that's lovely as well. Yeah. Because someone with autism, if I came to something like this, especially when I felt lonely, it'd be a bit overwhelming. Yeah. But it's nice to know the organiser understand the person might feel overwhelmed, chat to them, and then introduce them to people.
Well, it's because of, you just mentioned your autism, and it's because of your autism that I was so shocked that you managed, in front of 4,000 people, to get up and speak. How did you get the courage? What made you do it?
Just like being there for the community. I feel like if it wasn't such an important topic, I wouldn't have done it, if that makes sense. It's like the passion, and as I say, as I've learned, I realised how someone described it to me as, because I wasn't here around in the 80s, but someone described, like Section 28, it's like that but for trans people in 2022, which shouldn't be a thing. You'd think in 2022 it'd be more accepting, more do you get what I mean? More inclusive of everyone, but as you can tell in the media and stuff, it's sadly not. But I'll just say courage and passion for the community, because as I say, there's no LGB without the T.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
So that was our very own DJ Glorious, as I said, who's very excited at the moment because he has been accepted and is starting his new university shortly. He's been to see his new place where he's going to be living for residence. And I know he's super excited because he's venturing into the world of becoming a professional DJ, thanks to his time here at Trans Radio UK. So we wish him all the luck in the world. We hope he's going nowhere from the station, and we support him in his future career, and we know that he's going to do just fantastic. So good luck to you, DJ Glorious. Now, the next person that I spoke to, we noticed that there was this person lingering off to the sidelines who looked like they were there on their own. Now, I'm not going to say I immediately had a bit of a crush on this person, but I immediately had a bit of a crush on this person, and DJ Bear decided to go over and see if this person wanted to be interviewed, and thankfully they did. When I spoke to them, I found out that his name was Ethan, and he was a trans man. And let's have a listen to what Ethan told us. Okay, so I'm back here at Trans Pride in Birmingham. We're at the picnic, and I've just been joined by Ethan. His pronouns are he and him, and he lives. How far would Wolverhampton is? Do you think?
I know it's 15 minutes on the train.
15 minutes, yeah. So you're basically a local then. I found out from Adam, who organised this event. This is the first Birmingham trans thing ever to be done. And I think it's a really good turnout, like 100 people for the first time ever.
Yes, definitely.
What did you expect when you came here today to find or to see?
To be honest, I didn't know what to expect because I was quite ill for some years. So for me, my transition went in complete isolation.
Oh.
And I'm just joining the T community all over again. So I was really anxious and nervous to come here.
Yeah, sure. How long? So you're a trans man,
yes.
And how long have you been transitioned for now?
I started testosterone in 2016 in June, so it's been 6 years.
6 years, and how have you found it personally?
Due to my obviously isolation, being ill, I've kind of, as bad as this will sound, but in the way I've avoided all the the discrimination and bullying because my first years of my transition went through the isolation. However, now, because I'm passing, I feel more confident and I feel a lot better about being out there and making friends and integrating myself into this.
Sure, it's funny you say about the isolation part. Is I found one of the reasons I think so many people came out during COVID was because there was none of the nastiness people would normally face.
Yes.
And it gave people the freedom to be who they are and to do it at their own pace in their own time, which is kind of what you're saying you experienced through, and I'm sorry to hear that you were ill, but through the illness that you were suffering. And in a way, you've done a nice shortcut because now you feel as though you are passing. It's a term I personally hate, but I totally understand what you mean.
Thank you.
That you can now come out the other side and go, I'm here, I'm done, I'm ready. So with regards to the negativity that people see online, we see on the media every single day, all the lies and the rhetoric, how do you find real life to actually be?
What I learned from myself, because I'm quite spiritual as well, I don't believe the news or the papers because
I'm glad to hear it.
It's all fear-mongering and,
sure.
Us as transgender community, we're actually not bad people at all. If you are willing to get to know us and have a conversation, we are just like yourselves.
Yeah. I think being a trans man, I think one of the things that really bugs me the most for you is the healthcare.
Yes.
And one of the things I hate people saying is trans men are so lucky because they pass so easily. It swings and roundabouts because trans women don't pass so easily, but then surgery is much more of an option. Seems to be a lot. I'm not saying anyone gets surgery easily, but the option is far easier. Whereas for a trans man, it's numerous operations. When you can find the people that do the operations. How have you found that in this area for you personally?
I think for me, because again, due to my illness and stuff like that, I kind of breezed through that because I started my testosterone on the 9th of June 2016 and I had my top surgery literally a year later on 10th of August.
Cool.
So for me, I found it was quite easy, whereas I know a couple of trans men who have been still struggling 5-6 years down the line to get their surgery.
Yeah, at least. I know trans men who have been struggling a lot longer. And I come from London, where you would think there would be more of a surgical presence for trans people. And for trans men in particular, it's just awful. And then, again, that's a step better than non-binary people who get no recognition, very little support. And do you have any non-binary friends? Do you have any trans friends that you've made? Or
to be honest, since I just started integrating myself into the community, I actually have no family friends at the moment at all.
Well, I think that's going to change from today because yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for sharing your details as well.
You're so very welcome.
And just to prove the point of how important these events are, just as I said that would change from today, I was completely right, because when we all packed up and left, Ethan left, having arrived with knowing nobody, having no friends and no family. He left with other people. and he would have left making new friends. They all went off as a group. They went off to further enjoy their day, because Birmingham has a fantastic gay quarters, a gay area, with lots of bars and pubs and different events. And I'm pretty sure that having spoken to him and seen his personality and seen the personalities of other people there, that he left with brand new friends and, who knows, maybe even a brand new family. And the next person that we're going to hear from is somebody called Aeron, and I asked them what this Trans Pride picnic meant to them.
It's nice to have somewhere to go where I know everyone's thinking the same thing. I'm 28 now, and I've lived in Birmingham my whole life, and there's never been like a Trans Pride picnic that I know of. Anyway, I'm sure someone else might have done it.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to see everyone's really happy here. Everyone looks really hot too. Like, I'm getting so many good outfit ideas.
Yeah. It's definitely very chill, isn't it? I'm digging the vibe, I think is the term.
Yeah.
Lots of people just chilling out. There's no stress. There's no aggro. I'm really pleased to see there's no hostilities. And I've also noticed that nobody else gives a crap.
Nope.
You know, I was talking to somebody else just now, and we were talking about online hostilities and the Twitter bubble and stuff. And if you went by what you read on there, you'd think we're the most hated and the most hunted. And yet, It doesn't feel like they're here, does it?
No, and even just like walking around town, like I'm not dressed normally, quote unquote, but
you look great, by the way.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Like, my hair's full of accessories and colours, but I never felt like anybody was really staring at me. Honestly, everyone seemed to just stay in their own lane. It was actually a little bit surprising.
And is that a Birmingham thing? I mean, do you find in general, again, as somebody local who is trans, how accepted and welcome and just one of the people do you feel?
Definitely, like, more so in Birmingham city centre. If I want to go out wearing something a bit more daring, I will feel safer being here than I would like further outside the city centre.
Yeah.
So this, like, having all these people here as well, and I know they're going to all want to come back because I can see everyone's having a great time. It's nice to know that this will probably happen again.
I think for a first time event, to have like 100, 120 people, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the organisers, Ocean.
Okay.
And they were just telling me how they were all trying to organise this, and they kind of failed the first couple of times.
Yeah.
And they all just had enough, and like, right, we just have to get everyone together and get it happening for the first time.
Yeah.
And I can see it just like snowballing from here.
I think it's also important because of the whole COVID thing that we've been through, and everyone was shut away, and I mean the COVID was enlightening for a lot of people because people found their trans identity during COVID. So now's the right time, isn't it, for this to be something here?
Yeah.
So what did you do before, being as this didn't exist? What was your outlet or your connection before this?
I guess I didn't really
No.
have one. I don't know, like I don't have any like that many personal friends who are trans.
Oh really?
So now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm the only one.
Oh.
Off the top of my head.
Okay.
So it's nice to have other people around that I can go and talk to and stuff.
I'm looking around now, and you're definitely not the only one anymore.
Definitely not. Like I'm loving all the everyone's t-shirts that say they them on them and everything. I'm seeing so many great non-binary colour flag accessories, and I just want everyone to tell me where they're getting
I don't know if you've seen the transphobic t-shirt that's been made. You know the black t-shirt, and it says woman, adult, human, female.
Yeah, I always see that comment, and I don't know, it leaves such a weird, bad taste in my mouth.
It's strange, isn't it? Because in my mind, I'm not just saying this because of myself personally, but trans women are adult, human, female, so I don't understand.
What's the difference? Yeah, like what separation are you making there? Because whilst the statement is very clearly, like, it's got some attitude on it.
Yeah.
It's right at the same time, and it's actually funny.
Yes.
Like how right
it's
they are.
It's almost a cell phone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like when they say, "Oh, just because you dress a certain way and do a certain thing doesn't make you a woman." It's like, no, that's the point.
Yes,
that is
exactly,
the point.
exactly.
You're so close to the point, and you're not getting it. It's hilarious.
Exactly. And what I will say though is, as somebody, I'm a trans woman, and you're non-binary, yeah. And what I will say is, I will not stop fighting because of people like yourself, who I have some protections in law, I have some recognition in law, and yet non-binary people like yourself do not, and I can't get my head around that. I can't understand.
One.
Yeah,
it's a weird
I know we're all sticking to this binary thing. We're all sticking to this. Okay, we accept trans men or trans women because at least they're part of the binary.
Yeah, as soon as it doesn't fit into the binary, they sort of start to get put off by it.
Yeah.
And in America, the non-binary people are recognised as a group of people.
I believe it's
legally.
an X, isn't it? Isn't it an X on their passport and things they have?
I didn't know that, actually.
Yes, they do, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But in this country, it's like not even recognised as a legal thing. So to be a non-binary person who isn't recognised by the country I live in is a very weird feeling.
Yes.
So seeing all these other people who are clearly non-binary as well, or I assume because they're wearing they, them things anyway, is really nice and refreshing.
It's really reassuring when you look around and you see somebody who represents you. It just means the world, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's weird because I never really thought about not having it before.
Yeah.
But then like seeing it now, it's like, wow, I was actually like missing out on quite a lot, and I'm glad this is here now.
Yeah, no, I'm glad this is here for you, and I'm glad that you've had that feeling of acceptance or part of something. And I hope moving on, we get more changes in the world that means that you get even more.
I'd like that.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
This next person that I spoke to was just simply brilliant, and the words that she used and the way that she put things was just so fantastic. When I next spoke to Alexia. Okay, so I'm still here at Trans Pride in Birmingham at the picnic, which had, as I've said a couple of times now, a great turnout for the first ever event. And I'm joined now by a cis ally, Alexia, whose pronouns are she and her. Thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome.
Now, we started off just now, before I started recording, by you saying that, because we asked to speak to you a minute ago, and you wanted trans people to get their voice heard first, which is fantastic for someone cis to say trans voices first. But I also think it's important, especially during these really negative things that we're finding in the news, and I don't want to say in public, because like today we've had absolutely nothing, but we're led to believe that the public hate us. So I think now cis voices are as important as ever. What do you think about speaking out on behalf of the trans community? How do you feel in yourself doing that?
I think the question of allyship has been really interesting and really complicated over the last 6 years, which is probably where my journey began, getting more involved in politics, or for the first time in politics, in feminist politics, which is where I started in literally January 2016, and by 2017 the trans rights conversation, in quotes, had already ripped a hole through the space that I had just joined. I came in with almost no understanding either way of what trans rights meant to me as a cis woman, or to the trans community, or to feminism. But because I was at a time where I could take a lot of time with my learning, I visited places like the Museum of Transology in Brighton.
Brilliant, yeah.
And just discovered for myself, really, that the fight for trans rights was as important to me as my fight for women's rights, and that the two were really connected, and my allyship was very important in that political space I was in, and I was very vocal and visible there.
So can I ask then, thinking of feminism, why is it you can understand, why is it you've gotten why trans rights is important, especially the trans women debate or question or whatever they want to word it as? How come you can get that? Do you understand why the others can't? Because I'm getting lost and confused as to what the problem is.
I also find it very confusing, but if I root myself in white womanhood, I think I can get it. Because I am not attached to my whiteness, and because I can see the link structurally of white supremacy and trans.
If you could see the smile on my face now, hearing you say those words is perfect.
The more we understand the various power systems we live in, the more everything makes sense to me. I don't know what to do about the inflammation in the brains of white cis women, who also have some black cis women standing firmly at the front, but I think that's a very clever cover, in the same way we see the Tory party standing behind black and brown people who are saying
it's their shield, isn't it? It's their shield.
And it's a perfect shield, because it's very difficult then for someone like me, and I was very visible on Twitter when I could be, before it became too,
I'm still there, I'm still on there.
And I think trans Twitter, like black Twitter, is a beautiful space, and for people who can connect in it, it does wonderful things. but I no longer. I listened to Gina Roche, who came to Birmingham a couple of years ago, and you know they were like being on Twitter arguing it's not really doing it for me, and I felt that absolutely for them. I think there's a lot of narcissism which is faking itself as feminism, and I wish more people would have enough self-awareness, particularly women like Julie Bindel, who were big in my sort of younger years as feminists, and I wish they could take a bit of a step back and realise how they got themselves where they got themselves and why they need to retrench from that position.
Do you think there's a level of they've come so far that now they simply couldn't, if they wanted to, turn around and walk back a bit?
Absolutely that. And I wonder, I think hate is addictive, and this constructed world we live in, where social media and mainstream media are working beautifully for the powers that be to construct this kind of hated world, I think they have become so addicted to that idea that they are right and they are targets, and I'm a bookseller now, seeing the trajectory of certain people just go from sort of like almost don't really know but tending towards anti-trans, and then being fully swept up. But it doesn't ever take very long for the feminism to unravel. So I saw Maya Forstater recently saying that period poverty doesn't exist in this country.
Yes, so I found that really strange to be that rich or to be that privileged to then completely lose sight that there's poor people out there who can't afford these feminine products. For her feminism to stop there is outstanding.
Incredibly so. And the middle classness comes out over and over again. I didn't know any trans women before 2016.
No, we were all born then. We literally, something happened.
And now my life is full of trans people. And I know it's because I've come on a journey, but also that I unpicked whatever was in my head that I didn't understand, that I wasn't close to. A close family member came out to a very small group of us in early 2010s.
Okay.
And I felt very happy for them. But they're not out and about, so it's quite a small conversation. And I look at a space like today and I just feel really moved that actually allyship, it's a journey and it's work, but it's not hard and it's not difficult if you're actually just focusing on the love and the community and the connection.
I probably don't need to say this to you, but something like this is super important. This is the first time Birmingham's had something like this for trans people, and without us knowing, this has changed someone's life today. Turning up and seeing other people like them or in a community that they share will, even if we don't know it, have changed their lives. And Holly, who was doing the videoing and the photographs earlier, she said it was the same for her, that when she came to an event like this, where she didn't know anybody, she came along, she was by herself, and that was enough. Just seeing other people like her was just enough, and she went home without having spoken to a soul, but that was enough. And so how did you then get involved in Today, for example? How did you...
So my relationship with Pride is a little bit similar. I went as an ally in 2016 to my first ever London Pride. Came out to myself 2 years later, and everyone at the same time, because I was old enough to weather the storm.
Did Pride have anything to do with that?
It had planted something in me, and particularly because bi people haven't been so talked about, so seen, and I now know they were always involved. I was going to joke then and say,
sorry, who are bi people?
So I became involved in Bi Pride UK for a while.
Cool.
It was quite massive, and it was a big job, and there was a lot to it. I moved to Birmingham a couple of years ago. I couldn't do the sort of activism that I had been doing, and I needed to find a new way.
Where was that? London?
London. I did some international development activism, as well as feminist movement activism. The two are linked, obviously. I have a good friend, we were talking about the relationship between racism and transphobia, like all of that was really... So I sort of moved here with all of that in my viewpoint, and I started bookselling as a way to try and actually do the activism that I wanted, but without putting my body literally in places where it couldn't be anymore. And then, so as Back to Books Brum, I work with a collaborator who's a trans, non-binary person. And as soon as we heard that Birmingham Trans Pride was sort of milling around, we were like, right, let's get involved. So I've been sitting on the Discord group, and in a weird way, I kind of saw my role to kind of say, it's okay to go small, we can just do a picnic. And with a few of us organising, I could see that there was a huge energy and love and want for a bigger trans pride, and I think that Birmingham will no doubt get there. But I feel like there was almost a level to recognise that we're all very burnt out, we're very tired, the need is there, but this year is difficult for everyone.
I think a small start is good, because it gives you a name. All these people now here know Trans Pride in Birmingham. We're all going away with photos and we're all talking about it, and then next year I can assure you it's going to be totally different.
And I remember that Black Pride started with a group of black lesbians going to the seaside to have a day, and I think there's again something about whiteness and capitalism, which especially social media gives you that image that things have to be big, and London Trans Pride didn't start big. To get to that point, you start these, and also that we don't always need to have the energy that's railing against, because in a time when there is so much negativity and, and fear and conversations that we're having to have all over the place, as a bookseller, I get the conversation. So something that just allows you to come in as your own self.
I personally spent years pretending. I knew I was pretending, hiding behind what other people thought my body best suited as, and then since coming out, I'm now rallying against the opposite. So when I was pretending to be a man, people were telling me that how feminine I was, how I was wearing the wrong clothing or doing the wrong thing or doing the wrong job, or because I did nursing and all stuff like that. And as a trans woman, now I'm being told all the time, well, no, because you're biologically a man. So it's really strange how that conversation changed.
Always wrong. In the gender binary, it's an always wrong situation to be in.
I'm aware I'm taking up so much of your time. I'm really grateful, but I'm going to end with one final really awkward question for you. How do you feel sharing your spaces with trans women?
Overjoyed. Trans women have as much, if not more, complexity to them as cis women. Cis women are not always safe. I feel as relaxed in queer and trans-centred spaces as I do with a group of friends that I know and love and trust, and that has been my absolute experience.
So you don't feel unsafe? You're not concerned? You're not all these rhetorics that these people try and put forward, especially feminism, or sorry, that's wrong. People pretending to be feminists. You don't agree with that?
I am more concerned about the misogyny that comes out of cis women's mouths when they are drunk in a loo together than I am sharing a loo with 15 trans women.
I know a cis woman who is married to a trans woman, and she said that she has never in all her life ever had an issue with trans women in single sex spaces. It has always been from other cis women. It's been the problem.
Cis women are gatekeepers.
Yeah.
But they're also violent to each other and to men.
Yeah.
And the white womanhood that we've been talking about loves to gloss over that. It loves to gloss over that lesbian relationships, that domestic violence exists.
Absolutely.
At 45%, which is outrageously high. It masks a whole lot of what's actually going on, and so it's a load of BS, and it will never make me feel unsafe being in spaces with trans women.
Thank you so much. It's been really great talking to you. Thank you. So that was the lovely Alexia, and I really, as I said earlier, really appreciated the conversation that she had with me, the tone that she used, the wording that she used. She has so much insight, and I've got so much respect for her, and I hope our paths cross again. So my next interviewer was with Aquila, who has the pronouns they and them, a non-binary person from the Birmingham area. And here's what they had to say. Alexia was saying that you do some activism yourself. So,
yes.
So tell us what your kind of thing is.
Well, my thing is, I'm a person of colour, as well as being non-binary and trans and queer.
So you wanted to tick all the boxes?
So I basically about 3 or 4 years ago, I got asked to do an event at the LGBT Centre in Birmingham.
Yeah. Is that the old one where it used to be?
Yeah, where it still is, over by Holloway.
Oh, it's still there, is it?
By Holloway Circus.
Yeah.
So I was asked to do some speaking there, and from there it's kind of bloomed into I've been out as a trans person for like 10 years. So people are like, I know people. That's why I've always.
Sure.
That's why these events are always people I know and people I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've been doing these kind of things here and there, but also now I'm getting used to speaking trying to introduce more people, just making sure that trans people are heard, and make sure that we don't just get one type of voice, because there's as many trans people as there are people in general.
Yeah.
And I think that's what some people forget sometimes.
Yeah.
That we are not just one thing, one look, one person, one look. That we are a bunch of different people from different backgrounds.
But so being non-binary.
Yes.
Again, I was talking to somebody earlier who was non-binary, and I said to them that is one of my biggest issues as a trans woman. My biggest issue and part of my activism is for non-binary people.
Right.
Because as bad as things are for trans men and for trans women, the one thing we've got going for us is recognition. They're talking about us because they know we exist.
Right.
Because they accept legally and medically that we exist. Whereas non-binary people are still in a situation in this country, it's not the same around the world because other countries do legally recognise. Do you think we're any closer to being recognised?
I think in terms of the highest ends of Parliament, probably we've got more of a struggle, because I remember specifically when he got raised up in Parliament, they went completely off the tangent and didn't really talk about it. I know that there's been activists who have been pushing through Supreme Court here for recognition, and that didn't happen how we wanted.
No.
I think we are slowly getting there. It's something that frustrates me, but also I have to realise that we are slowly taking more and more ground. Because people like me, I have to explain to myself, not necessarily outside of the community, but sometimes inside the community as well.
Sure.
So I think there's still ground. There's still a lot more to be done, and there's still a lot more to be done in recognition, because even on a diversity angle, some people are legally recognising people with non-binary titles, as in MX, or just not even have a title, just call them by name. It's going to take a while, but I'm very much here to make sure that they get recognised.
What I love is a lot of the younger people, I mean, most young people that I've spoken to are completely on board.
Yes.
As in, it's not even a minor issue to them. Trans people, non-binary people, gender fluid people, they couldn't care less. They accept it, they know it, they get it, and they just move on. And what really bugs me is in Parliament, for example, when the non-binary, I hate the terms they use, but when the non-binary debate was brought up, most of their answers was, but trans men and trans women, that's not the conversation. Non-binary people deserve to have their own recognition and their own conversation without it constantly being brought back again to solely trans men or trans women, because non-binary could be both, either, neither. It could, and that needs to be understood, doesn't it?
It's the one thing that frustrates me just as a non-binary person is this idea of third gender. And the problem really is, in my head there's no third gender, because I see it more as roles. Like, I wouldn't go into the whole detail because I'll be here forever, but there are roles in other cultures which are just transgender roles, like Hydra.
Absolutely.
There are roles inside transgender culture rather than third genders. They're just roles. In that case, it's part of the community, and it's quite an important part of the community. But it's more that we just want to be recognised.
Absolutely.
Who we are. Be it that you call us by name or you give us the they them pronouns. It's a matter of just recognising our humanity like everybody else. And it should be that simple, but always, I think slowly but surely there's going to be people who will be like, this is something that really should just be done and over with, rather than thinking about it too hard, because I don't have to think it too hard that you're a trans woman. I don't have to think too hard about my friends who are trans men. I just think they're trans men, they're trans women, that's fine. But people are still trying to think a little bit too hard about it, rather than just, hey, we're non-binary people, this is how I identify pronoun-wise, and just getting on with life.
It's really quite strange, isn't it, Aquila, that they're spending so much time thinking about our genitals or what we do in the toilet that they miss the bigger picture.
Yeah.
They miss what's going on. They miss what's happening around them because they're too busy worrying about genitals. So that was myself and Aquila at Trans Pride Birmingham picnic on Sunday.
For the community, by the community, Trans Radio UK.
Did you know we have an active and fun chat room? Come and join presenters and other listeners at transradiouk.com. All hit music.
Yo, what's up? This is Kanye.
This is Rihanna. Hey, this is Pink.
Trans Radio UK. Truck United FC, the new football team for the LGBT community. Visit tiukunitedfc.com for more details. Trans Radio UK, here for the community. 24 hours a day. You're listening to Out of the Flames with Phoenix, only on Trans Radio UK.